Hi, I'm Catherine Jenkins, and welcome again to my show, The Beauty of Oil Painting. Today I'm going to paint something really beautiful, one of my favorite subjects. It's the English rose, or some people call it the old-fashioned rose. I love to paint roses more than anything, and that's the favorite one of mine is the English rose. Let's take a look at the canvas, the painting that I'll be working from. There it is. It's got a beautiful background. It's kind of a mottled effect. If you can see in close here, it's a pale, pale pink, and then these pale leaves way in the background, and then the darker leaves on the front, and then these beautiful, round, beautiful English roses, very soft and fluffy. So come on up to the canvas, and I want to show you what I've done to get started. I first put just a little loose sketch, just to take a little oil paint on your brush. This is all oil. Today I'm not doing an acrylic background like we so often do. This is all oil. So I put just a little loose sketch of the roses to get the placement. And then come on down to the palette, and I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm going to dip into my medium to thin the paint down a little bit, and I'm just going to loosely put a little bit of this right up here on the top corner that I've left without anything on here. And I'll just dip down and get some more paint and very quickly get this on. You can put this on any way you want. This is petal pink with a lot of white and a tiny, tiny touch of ochre, yellow ochre. Now I'm going to crumple up a paper towel. I always just crumple in my hand a little paper towel and dip into my odorless thinner, get it nice and wet, and just dab it. Come on in close. You see that? You see that, what it's doing here? And this is just giving you, it's much the way they do faux painting on walls a lot with the cloth or the paper that they go over. So that gives you the soft mottled effect. And again, this is oil paint, not acrylic. So it's wet on wet today. So we're going to start out, and I'm going to start with this 3/4 inch brush. It's a flat brush, very sharp chisel. And I'm going to dip into my medium. And I'm going to start with a very, very dark foliage green, dark, and I'm going to add a little sienna and maybe a touch of burgundy in that. And I want a very, very nice dark. I'm going to get some more medium. And we're going to start and establish the darks right here between the roses in a crisscross pattern. Now I'm going to just dip down and pick up a little bit of crimson, a little bit more crimson. And we're going to get some nice darks right in this area here. And a little here, because these darks are so important. That's what makes your roses pop out. And I'm using Portrait Smooth canvas. Leave nice, and again, this is oil paint, leave nice ragged edges. You see that stroke? Crisscross, crisscross, just like that. But it's a very fast stroke. Now, when you come out a little farther, I'm going to lighten up on the pressure of my brush. And you see how the intensity is changing? And I just dipped into the same color, but I put more medium on the brush, and I'm lightening up on the pressure because I want it to get softer and paler out here, and I'm going to bounce all over the place here. So you can follow me, just bouncing all around. And again, don't try to paint this fast at home. Take your notes, watch the show, and all of this instruction will be in the book for you. So now I'm going to rinse my brush off. I rinse in odorless thinner, and I always use odorless thinner because you don't want that stuff that smells all the time. It's really bad. So I'm going to pick up, I have a lot of colors here on the palette mixed with white. I've taken my blues and my mauve and my black, and I've just mixed white with them to tone them down to get some nice pastel shades. And I'm going to dip into my medium, and let's go into this green. It's a greenish gray. I added a touch of black and a lot of white to it. And let's just go out here, and on the edge of those crisscrosses, I'm going to just even get lighter, 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 lighter. And you want to leave very, very pick up some more of that green. Very ragged edges. You don't want to come out here with hard edges. And I'm just going to dip down for some more of that same color. How about a little bit out here? Oops, got a little on my background. You can just wipe it off. It's no problem. It comes off very easy. But you see how it goes from very dark to kind of a middle tone and then a light tone. And that's what we want. Nice and loose. Very, very loose. It's going to look messy at this stage. No problem. Now you can take a blender brush. That's this guy right here. And you can just loosely and just very gently, gentle pressure, and soften that out. And again, it looks very, very messy at this stage when you start painting, but just let it get messy. The looser you paint, the better, and let it look messy, because I guarantee you it will turn out in the end. Well, I hope it will. No, it always does. And remember, oil paint, you can go over everything, so it's no problem. So I'm going to start with some very pale leaves. I'm just going to pick up these greens and blues mixed with white, and we're going to start up here and get some very loose, wiggle, wiggle out, wiggle, wiggle out. See those very loose? Those are those little small rose leaves, very small, and bring some up here. Now, I may not have time to get all the leaves in today, but let me show you that stroke really, really close. Let's go over here, right here. A little stem with the side of the brush, push down, wiggle, wiggle, up and out. And there's your leaf. Easy, easy. This is the easiest way to paint. I'm going to dip into some more. I'm going to get a little darker, go into that puddle of dark green, just a shade darker. And let's do some way up here, some large leaves. One up here, you see that? Wiggle down through the middle, push, lift toward the center, push, lift toward the center. And let's do some more. I'm just going to jump around and get a whole bunch of these started. And don't be afraid to overlap your leaves. So many people are so afraid. They say, oh, if I get into a leaf, I'm going to get some darker color here. If I put one over the other, it's really going to mess up the other one. Well, don't worry, because in nature or in a bouquet of flowers, you want your leaves to overlap. I'm just mixing some more of the green, the foliage green dark, foliage green light. Use a lot of different varieties of color, of green. And let's see, let's get some coming out. I'm going to wipe the paint off my brush, the dark, go into this light color again. Let's pick up some of this mauve and gray this time. And let's get some pretty mauve ones come out. Wiggle, wiggle, out, out, out. If you put your brush down and just hit it, it almost makes a leaf. Just push and lift. Push and lift. And how about some more blue ones over here? Just a few coming out on this side. Just a few. And I'm going to bounce all over. I'm going to get a little more white. Go back into my puddle and get some right here. And maybe some here. Now, it's good to set up a bouquet of flowers at home when you're painting, and paint from life. Get a nice, beautiful vase and just set them in, and then just paint a free-floating composition like this. Don't even worry about the vase, but arrange some in a vase, and that will give you an idea for a composition. And let's get just a few more let's swing a little down this way. And I'm just picking up all those different colors. By mixing up your white with your colors first, it gives you an idea of all the different shades and all the different values you can have. And we'll just plunk around. And let's see, where else? Let's bring a couple of nice dark ones. Go back into the crimson, sienna, and green. And let's get one coming way out here. There we go. And let's get some big leaves. Big leaves. These are so easy to do. Now, in the books, I have several pages of diagrams that show all the different leaves, all the different foliage, and it shows step by step all these different leaves. And so once you practice these and once you do a few, they are so simple. So don't worry about learning to paint leaves, because it's all in the book for you. And let's get one coming out of here and up the other side. And in a little bit, if we have time, we'll tint some of these leaves. And how about another one way over here? Wiggle through the center and angle toward the back of the leaf and toward the center at the same time. So we better get started on those roses, and we'll leave the leaves set for a minute, and we'll get started on these roses. Now, these roses are nice little round shapes. The cabbage roses are a lot rounder than the tea roses. So we're going to dip into our medium and get the paint very, very thin. And I'm using mauve, royal mauve, and let's start up here. And I'm going to block all three. This is called blocking, or blocking in the base tone. I'm going to block all three of them in at once. And that way we'll just have them all ready and set up for our petals. Again, mauve. Now the base tones have a lot of medium. Very, very soupy. The medium is just used to thin your paint down. It's very, very transparent, almost like watercolor in here. Now around the top it gets a little rounder. Unlike the tea rose where we do all the loose jaggedy strokes out here, it's going to get a little rounder on the top of the English rose. And these roses are so much fun to paint. And they're actually easy. I think they're easier for people than the tea rose. Let's go down here and pick up some beautiful petal pink. And how about we'll add a little bit of magenta rose. Oh, those are yummy colors. And a lot of medium, and let's get this one based in, and we'll just block it in. You work from the outside into the center, outside in. And again, in the book I have lots of diagrams of English roses, tea roses, and all the step-by-step instructions. And if I don't get everything in today, the finished painting will all be pictured in the book for you. Okay? We'll leave that one go, and it's looking messy. I know that. You want it to look messy at this time, because if it's not messy, it's not loose enough. So if it's looking really, really good at this stage, then you're painting too tight. You want it nice and loose. So now the bottom one is gray. I've mixed up a little gray, and I have a little pink in my brush. That's fine. Let's go over here to the gray with a little mauve in it. I like shadows in a white rose or white bird or anything. I like the shadows to have color. I don't like to just mix gray and white. That's kind of boring. You know, who just wants gray and white shadows? So I'll sometimes mix mauve, a tiny touch of mauve, or I'll mix blue in the shadows. And I like to have a nice variety. Now I'm going to go a little darker. I'm going to pick up a little more black to add to that shadow color. And let's run a little bit around here where I see where the bottom of the bowl, this rose is turned down, and maybe we'll just get a little darker right up here. Okay, now let's go up to that top rose, and we're going to get a darker center to set the center down. Now I'm going to use less medium because I want the paint to be darker, and we're going to put a dark center in just like that. And then we'll just run some little darks around this way, in this direction, because those are going to be the shadows between the petals. A little bit more of that, and we'll run it right down where the bottom of the bowl. Almost looks like a cabbage rose already. Rinse the brush off, and we'll go in and put a nice dark center in the pink one. I think we'll put crimson. I'll scoot over here and get some crimson in the brush. There, we want a dark, nice dark. There we go, nice and dark. Just plunk it in, fan it out. You don't have to make a big deal. Now you guys, I know you can do this. I know you all have beautiful gardens out there to photograph like Gary and I do, and I love to grow these roses. On our trips to Europe, we see, the most beautiful gardens. The Europeans as well as the Americans, they really love their flowers, and so do we. We just love it. Now in the center of the one on the bottom, I'm going to take some sienna and ochre and maybe a touch of orange, and we're going to get the dark in with a little different color. We're going to put a warm center in here to set that center down. Wipe the brush off, fan it out a little. Maybe just shoot some little darks around. Maybe we'll go back down to the gray and put a few dark a little gray. See how loose that is? Very, very loose. Okay, let's get started on those petals. And we'll get going on these petals. Now, this is where you have to practice. Painting takes practice. It's very easy when you know how, but once you know how and once you know how to do the technique, it's really gets much easier for you. And I want you to try. I really want you to give this a try. So many people are afraid of painting, and especially oil painting. And boy, there's nothing to be afraid of because you're using the nice oil paint, and it's so easy to take it off if you don't like it and try it again. And roses need to be practiced, so just keep practicing and it's going to come. But I want you to try. The main thing is I want you to try. Now I've got some mauve with white on the brush, and I'm going to use the chiseled edge of the brush, and I'm just going to scoot around here, and I'm kind of pressing down and lifting up as I go. It's kind of a press down and lift up like that, but it's very fast, loose stroke, and sometimes you press down heavy, sometimes light. And we get some very soft strokes back there. The petals on the front, we're going to press and lift, and we're going to aim to a little vanishing point on each petal, because these are petals that are flipped up this way, flipped up toward the viewer. And we'll just layer. Old-fashioned roses or English roses have lots and lots and lots of layers. So you just keep layering and layering. Don't forget to round off the belly of that petal. Round it off when you finish, heading toward the vanishing point. Very important. And out here, we'll just soften this out with a little bit more round petals. And they have some nice petals falling away from that bowl area. And we'll get those in, push and lift. And again, they have a vanishing point right about here. And they're angled. The petals are more angled. And these roses, like I said, they're much rounder than the tea roses. The tea roses have a lot of very sharp or angled petals that come shooting out, out on the sides. But this is more closed, like a little round cabbage. I'm going to go soften this inside a little bit, just run a little bit of the dark in there. And let's shoot one or two down here. These petals all have a vanishing point somewhere around, kind of the middle of the rose. And let's get started on that. It's the same thing for the beautiful pink rose. It's just the same. I'm going to pick up white and pink. I already have that mixed up. Maybe add a little bit more white. And that was that petal pink. And we'll go around, same thing. Kind of almost in a circle, not quite. Push and lift, push and lift, push and lift. Very soft. And come out here and maybe highlight a little stronger in a couple places. You see, they're not all highlighted the same. They're not all the same. Some are a little darker than others. Picking up more paint. And when I get to this stage, I use very little medium. I sometimes just put a tiny little bit on the tip of my brush or on the corner of my brush. And layers and layers and layers, lots of layers. These are so fun to do. And I really do think for a lot of people they're easier than the tea roses, much easier. Highlight that one in front of, when a petal isn't showing up, just highlight it in front. I'm just dipping down for the more of the same color. Put lots of layers on this one. When a petal isn't showing up in front of another, just add more white to it, or whatever of the highlight color you're using. These are the little petals that are shooting away from the bottom. Now in a little bit, we'll soften. I always take the blender and soften out the rose petals after I get them all in. We'll bring this one right up. Nice highlight. We'll bring it up over the other one, over the other rose. And let's get a nice big one shooting down here. Nice big one. Sometimes you can put little points on them. And how about another one right out here? And they just overlap each other. And how about another one right here? Put a little pink. Oh, look, I got some pink on the edge of that one. That's just by an accidental double load of the brush. Okay, let's get started on the white one down there. Now the white one, I like to use white, just titanium white, because that gives you the best coverage. And we'll just pick up white, plain old white. In fact, let's add, I like to warm up my white. Let's add a tiny touch of yellow. You can add yellow, you could add a tiny touch of orange. And let's start out here. I'm going to start with these petals. Now these petals are flipped this way. They're flipped over this way. And picked up a little of that orange center, but that doesn't matter. So you're going to just be doing this. You know, you can turn, when you're at home, and I often do this in class, I turn the canvas upside down. If I'm painting an upside down rose, and I don't really have time today, but I'll turn the canvas upside down and shoot around, get these in here. But people say, oh, can you turn the canvas upside down to paint an upside down flower? I say, of course. I mean, you can paint with your canvas sideways and anyway but backwards. You don't want to turn around, but you can do anything that's comfortable for you. And so just don't be afraid if you're doing an upside down rose, just turn it around. Because in class I do that, I turn it around because I find I can correct it faster that way. And it kind of makes you think a little more and paint a little slower when you have to do it upside down, but it's great practice for you. So we'll get another one up here. And how about one shooting out over here? Little one here. And we'll bring this one, don't be afraid to overlap. Like your leaves, you want to overlap some of the roses too. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to, well, let's blend some of the petals out first. I use this great little blender, this soft blender brush that you so often see Gary and I using. And let's go up and soften some of these guys out. Let's use this in just anywhere you want areas to go back a little bit and not so standing out. You just soften, and this will pull areas together and down here a little bit. And then I'm going to get some leaves right up over the top. This is just green with sienna and a little yellow. And let's bring some nice light ones right up in this area here. Right up here, you see that? And we're going to overlap our little guy. Be sure you put some leaves in to overlap the roses. And we'll fill out, I'll just bounce around here and fill out wherever I see we need to add more to the composition. It's your composition, so you just decide where you want leaves. These are some of those big ones again. And how about another one right here over the rose, and maybe one here. The leaves should be put on in layers, different values and different layers. And let's get a little highlight. I like to take the rose color and highlight some of the leaves or accent some of the leaves. Let's take a little pink right up here. And you just don't pull in all the way, just a little bit. Maybe we'll put a little mauve on one right here. So much fun. And we have some centers. Take the corner of the brush, a little yellow and orange. And let's tap some centers in. Now while I'm thinking of it, let's take a look on the easel next to me. I'll just finish putting these centers in, tap, tap. Let's take a look on the easel. And I want to show you a cabbage, not cabbage, we call them cabbage, it's a slang word in the United States, but the English roses that Gary did on the easel behind me. You see the one over here? It's beautiful. This one right here on the easel. And this is a beautiful one that Gary did. And I love that. It's just on a bigger canvas, big roses, the same kind of roses. And it's so soft with that soft background. And I just love it. So that's a way you can do another composition. And try these cabbage roses or these English roses because they're really, really fun to paint. So I hope you enjoyed the show today, and I hope you join us again and go out and paint beautiful roses and send me some pictures if you get a chance. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Het derde boek van Gary Jenkins is uit, boordevol prachtige bloemen en rozen. Nieuw in deze uitgave zijn de exotische vogels en vissen. U heeft deze derde editie al in huis voor slechts €34,50. Of bestel de prachtige Jenkins DVD voor dezelfde prijs. Bestel snel en maak uw serie Jenkins boeken compleet. Kijk voor bestelinformatie op omroepmax.nl of op teletext pagina 330.